If I was to say to you, Marvel character and vampire movie, you'd probably think, whoa, a new Blade is coming. No, I'm talking about Morbius. Now, there's been a lot of negative buzz. Is it true? Or should you watch my video to see what the real story is? One thing I always try to do before filming my review and watching movies is I tend to stay away from other reviewers and what they think. Every once in a while, though, there are these movies that I don't miss the headline. So I see there is some buzz saying that this is one of the worst Marvel movies there's been. And like a trooper, I had to go and stick it out and see for myself if that's just a lot of hate or if that's actually a legit review. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. It was all right. It was definitely not the worst Marvel movie. That distinction still falls to the Fantastic Four Nightmare a few years ago. So what is Morbius about? It is a doctor who has a lifelong condition since he was a child. I'm not actually sure what he had. All I know is it's incurable. He is crippled and he has to get blood transfusions every single day. And he's been working to find a cure. He was a genius little kid. And he somehow gets the powers of a bat, like a vampire. And you'd think the movie would be him struggling to figure out his new powers. This movie moves at a blistering pace. It is moving from one thing to the other. It starts off with him, actually shows more in the trailer on how he gets the powers, because those scenes weren't even in the movie. And then he has a best friend who he always said he would save, who also gets a hold of the serum and gets the powers at some point, which you don't really see. So why the movie is just all right is it spends almost zero time on character development. You don't really get a sense of you are rooting for Morbius. You think it'd be almost an easy layup, basketball joke, that you have a guy that has an illness and he's trying to better himself, but it just moves so fast that we don't really see that struggle of him trying to get better. He just gets better pretty fast, and then he's this ferocious vampire who immediately figures out how to not kill people. And then he has a friend who we don't know. This guy is rich for some reason. We don't get any of backstory of his friend, who he vowed to save. He all of a sudden turns into this nice kid that's been bullied a lot to a villain. We don't know his reasoning for just wanting to kill everybody. So that's a lot of negative. What do I like? I thought he looked cool when he was the vampire. I am a huge vampire fan, so I was rooting really hard for this to be a really good movie. It doesn't have any vampire lore. Like, there's no Dracula, although they joke about Dracula. So there's not a history of all these vampires like you would see in other movies. So he's not the traditional vampire. The action was pretty good. Some of the CGI was a little cheesy. And I felt like they could have made this almost a terrifying version of him really trying to control his urges while learning to be that sympathetic, almost an anti-hero. It kind of wanted to be like Venom, but it wasn't. And the villain, played by Matt Smith, they went the easy cookie cutter route. They made a villain that's exactly like our hero, except he is a little more evil. He has no problem feeding on humans. We've done that so many times. They could have done something else, I assume. I'm not a huge Morbius. I don't know a lot about him in the comic books. I do know he shows up in Spider-Man every once in a while. But they could have played like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and they didn't do that. They almost made him like Hulk, where he couldn't control himself and he goes into a full rage. Also, in the comics, this is my first question for you to answer. Does he fly in the comics? Because he did sort of at least glides in the movie. I want to talk about the end of credits scene. So this is going to be spoilery. So if you don't want to know what happens and you want to see it with your own fresh eyes, I would fast forward a little bit to get to the overall review. So first one, we have Vulture coming, and he comes through because of the multiverse thing. Okay, that makes sense. He's just there. And that kind of sets up for something. We don't really know. We don't know what Venom. We don't know what Morbius. We've got another Craven movie coming. We don't know how these fit into this Spider-Man, if they're going to do their own Spider-Man. Who knows? Okay, but then we go to the second one. We got Morbius driving out to the desert, and this windstorm comes, and it's Vulture in his full Vulture gear. But the other scene establishes that he's not from that universe. Where did he get his Vulture gear? So where is this going? I hope this is not like the last time they tried to set up the Sinister Six. They teased all these things that absolutely never happened. It doesn't seem like they quite have a plan. And we don't know if Morbius is going to be in the MCU or if he is going to be in the Sonyverse. So these are questions we need answers to. So overall, I'm going to give this one a C+. I don't think it was awful. I wouldn't recommend watching this in the theaters. I would just wait. There's definitely worse Marvel movies. And it's important to note this is not a Marvel Cinematic Universe Studios movie. This is Sony's version, just like the Venom movies. So they're not quite as good. Venom movies never stack up as good as a Marvel movie. And this movie definitely didn't quite hit the mark. I feel like it had a lot of potential, though. If we could have just gotten a really dark tale, or really gotten to know the characters more before they decided to either kill them off or change them. Maybe they could have cut out the buddy cops making bad jokes. I haven't seen the box office numbers. I hope it does well enough for a sequel, because I do think it has potential. So what did you think? Did you like it? Is this the worst superhero movie you've ever seen in your life? It is quick, so you're not sitting through a 2.5-hour movie like Batman. So that's nice if you don't want to spend your entire nice day in the movie theaters. But what do you think? Do you think he was semi-scary? Do you like the way his makeup was? I thought that was pretty cool. I figured that was going to make or break. I liked his better than the villain's Milo. I thought he kind of looked a little more cheesy. So let me know. And while you're thinking that, hit the subscribe button. Hit the notifications button. So the next time a vampire Marvel crossover, hopefully Blade, comes, you'll see that video pop up. Because when you watch my videos, you're going to find something to brag about.